Hey everybody, RPG here. Today we're going to dive into the Raspad 3, which is a Raspberry Pi tablet with a built-in battery and touchscreen. So this is really, right off the bat, an amazing setup for retro gaming, but you can do literally anything you want with a Raspberry Pi 4 computer board with this particular setup. So first and foremost, one of the best things about this, in my opinion, is the fact that it's 100% portable. So what that means is you can charge this up. Everything will hold the battery on here, and you'll be able to take it on the go with you. So you could play games on an airplane, in the backseat of a car, on a long trip, anywhere you want to go. You can take this with you, and you don't have to be 4 feet from an outlet at all times. I've seen tons of products advertised as portable over the last couple of years that you need to have plugged into an outlet at all times. That's not portable in my opinion. Yes, they're easy to gather up and take with you on the go, but you're not portable, you're not mobile if you need to be plugged into an outlet at all times. That's not the case here with the Raspad 3. You're fully mobile. You can take this literally wherever you want to go, and you'll be able to get juice from it, power it up, jump into YouTube if you have a Wi-Fi connection. You could jump into different browser things if you're running like the Raspberry Pi operating system or the Raspad software that comes available through the Raspad 3. You can also run RetroPie literally anywhere. You don't need Wi-Fi for RetroPie, so that's certainly something that you can do without any limitations whatsoever. So what I want to do today in this video is I want to introduce you to this product. I'm going to pop the hood on it, so to speak. We're going to open it up, show you exactly what's going on inside so you know exactly what you're getting into here. And then I want to jump into some video game emulation here. I want to jump into a couple different collections. I'm going to show you around my particular setup here, the controllers that I use on here, as well as what the overall performance is like on here, because we have an excellent 10.1 inch screen. We have touchscreen capabilities, we have Wi-Fi, we've got incredible sound and picture. Everything about this is just an absolute home run. So we're also going to jump into Nintendo DS games here. I want to just briefly touch on these because this is literally the only collection of games where we have the touchscreen capability in the games themselves that we can actually utilize with the Raspad 3. If we were to just run Nintendo DS games through RetroPie on a Raspberry Pi 4 connected to a TV or monitor, yes, we'd be able to play the games, but we wouldn't have the touchscreen portion of this. We'd be able to use a mouse to navigate the cursor for those particular games, but we wouldn't have that true touchscreen capability like we would have on an original Nintendo DS. So this is the most true to form way to actually dive into Nintendo DS games. So I definitely want to highlight that and show you around there. So let's pop the hood on this, show you exactly what's inside this particular Raspad 3, and we'll take it from there. All right, so here we have our Raspad 3, 10.1 inch touchscreen here. I do want to mention I have the protective film over the screen here, so I will peel this up from the corner once we power this on, but I always like to leave that on, until I actually power it on, just to keep everything nice and protected on here, because I am going to be flipping this over momentarily here. But let's go to the left hand side. That's where we can find all of our ports here. So we have our Ethernet, we have 3 USB 3 ports, we have our regular size HDMI, we have our headphone jack right here, so we can plug in headphones if we'd like, and then we have our power supply right here. So this is where we'll be plugging in to charge this guy up. So on the other side here, you can see we have our micro SD card slot, which I've actually put in my 512 gigabyte RetroPie game collection card in here. So this is going to be where we get RetroPie from. We have our power button. We have our volume controls as well as our brightness controls, so you can adjust the picture quality. You can also adjust your sound right here. And then here we have our battery indicator, so it's going to let you know when you have this powered on, and it's also going to give you an indication as to where your battery life is like on here. So if we flip this up, we have access to the GPIO up here at the top. Bottom doesn't have anything, but you can see everything is nicely put together. So we're going to actually flip this over face down here, which is why I've left that protective film on there, just so I don't have to worry about scratches or anything like that. Luckily, this tabletop here is cleaned off, so there's no risk of doing any type of damage to it. So you're going to notice here we have 4 holes on the outside, and then we have one in the center here. Inside each of these holes is a screw, so we're going to actually loosen this up so we can access the inside. So the Raspad 3 actually comes with this amazing little screwdriver here. So it has this little clip on it, just like a pen, so you could easily put this in your pocket. We have a magnetic tip at the bottom, so getting the screws out of here, because these are actually pretty deep, you can see that this actually goes in there about 1/4 of an inch down, so you don't have to tip this over and shake out the screws or anything like that. All you have to do is simply remove the screw here, which I'm going to do really quickly, and with that magnetic tip, the screw will just lift right out with the actual screwdriver. So it's literally that easy. There's no more fishing things out or shaking the thing like a crazy person trying to get those screws out. This just makes it super easy. So I'm already halfway done with removing these screws for this back panel here. And the point of this is I just want to show everybody exactly what everything looks like under the hood, so you know exactly what the layout is here and how this actually operates. All right, so once we've removed all 5 screws here on the back side, nothing's going to be locking this back panel in anymore, so we can just flip this over, and we're going to go to the side that has our power button as well as micro SD card slot. Now before we actually remove this, you want to make sure that you don't have a micro SD card in here, otherwise everything's going to get jammed up and locked into place. So you want to make sure that you remove any micro SD card that you would have in here. If this is your first time setting it up, it won't come with anything in there already. So you'll notice there's a little tab right here. If you just put your finger in there, you can actually lift this screen up and we can actually access everything. So I'm going to flip this over just like this so we can easily see everything. So on the actual top of the housing here, all we have is our cooling fan. So we don't have to worry too much about showing what's up there. But inside here, you're going to see that we have our Raspberry Pi 4 computer board right here, and we have a bunch of different connections actually connecting over here on the tablet itself. So everything gets extended over to this board here, so we can see that we have our Ethernet, we have our USB connection, we also have our HDMI as well as power supply here. So we have 2 HDMI cables going from micro over here to micro. So everything is really nicely put together here. I've had absolutely no issues with this. I've had this now for, I bet it's about 6 months since I did the setup tutorial. So if you need visual aid to go through the setup process here, luckily the Raspad 3 actually comes with an amazing little manual here, which I have right here. Really in depth here, so it's really easy to follow along with. But if you're visual like I am, I just do so much better with watching somebody else assemble things in video form. So if you're like me, I'll put a link in the description of this video so you can click over to our setup video that just walks through the setup process here. So that's pretty much everything. It just extends the actual Raspberry Pi 4 computer board over here, and then we actually have our cooling fan, which wires in right into this connection right here. But that's pretty much everything. We have all of our connections made. Everything's super tight in here and ready to go. So we're going to just pop the cover back on. So I'm just going to line it up, and all you have to do is just firmly press down and you're good to go. Just check the sides, make sure that there's no gaps or anything, and you're 100% lined up. And then we can just start putting these 5 screws right back in. I always like to go with the middle one first and then work my way around the edges. All right, so we have all of our screws fully installed on here, so it's time to turn this on. And before we do that, we're going to insert this 512 gigabyte micro SD card into the micro SD card slot on the Raspad 3. This micro SD card has RetroPie pre-installed on it, and I have all my retro video game collections on here and ready to go. So we need to locate our micro SD card slot on the Raspad 3, which is located right here on the side, right beside the power button. So in order to insert this in, all we need to do is just insert it face up, and it's going to go so the face side of the micro SD card is going towards the bottom of the Raspad 3. So if you just push that in there gently like this, all you have to do now is just give it one little push and it's going to click right into place. You could hear it just click right into place like that, and if we just run our finger over it like this, you can see that it's countersunk, so there's no risk of snagging the end of the micro SD card and no risk of accidentally ejecting this or doing anything like that. In order to eject it, we do exactly the same thing we did to lock it into place. We just push our fingertip into it
you'll hear it click, and it just ejects itself just like that. So now we could just grab onto it and slide it right out. So again, I'm going to just install it one more time, just push it into place, click it into place, and it's locked in there. So we can turn this over and power on the Raspad 3. But before we do that, I just want to give you guys a quick little warning on here. If you ever have to go right back into this back panel here and you have to take these screws out and lift the top off, you need to make sure that your micro SD card is fully removed. You do not want to do any of that while it's installed, because when you unscrew all these screws and you go to lift this back panel off, it's going to get snagged on here because this micro SD card is countersunk in there. You're going to end up getting everything tied up over here, and you can do significant damage to the parts within if you do not eject this micro SD card prior to taking the back panel off. So just want to give you guys a quick warning on that, just so you don't make any mistakes and do any irreversible damage to your Raspad 3. Super important there. So we're going to turn this over and we're going to power it on. Alright, so I've just fired up the Raspad 3 and fully booted up the RetroPie game collection card that I inserted into the microSD card slot. So I'm using this PlayStation style gamepad controller here just to kind of scroll through my different collections here, and I can use this to play a bunch of different video games on here. But the first collection that I actually want to jump into and do some gameplay demos for is going to be the Nintendo DS, because that is the collection where we can go in and fully utilize all of the touchscreen capabilities that come with the Raspad 3. So let's navigate over to Nintendo DS, which is right here. We're going to jump into this collection, and I'm going to jump into a couple different games on here to show you exactly what everything looks like using the Raspad 3. Alright, so the first game we're going to jump into is Diddy Kong Racing DS, and we can use the stylus here or our finger. I use the stylus usually. And we're going to jump into this. We're going to do single player, and we're going to do a single race, and we'll select our player. It'll be Diddy Kong. And we'll hit start game. So there's actually a couple different layouts to choose from. This is the most true to the original DS, but just by picking up the gamepad controller that I have here, I can switch the views. So I can go and zoom in right here, which is probably what I'll do for a little while. And I can also switch back and forth, so I can make it side to side to utilize all of the screen. I can use this one, which is, again, true to the original DS, where you had one screen on top of the other. So we'll kind of roll with this one for a little bit. I'll switch it up in a minute or so. So I can switch them up and down, however I prefer it to look. I can also zoom in a little bit. In a game like this, you can do them side to side. This is also nice because you utilize every aspect of the screen size here. Alright, so you can see here everything works beautifully, so I'm going to jump out of this game, and we're going to go and select another game. Alright, so we're going to jump into Dirt 2 now, and I'll use the touchscreen to set this up here with my stylus. We'll do a quick race, and we'll just kind of jump through all these different options here. Alright, so again, the same thing here. We have different layouts to choose from just by going with our D-pad here on our gamepad controller. So I actually like to be zoomed in this. I don't really care for the overhead view as much. A racing game like this, I'd like to just have full view of the actual vehicle that I'm racing with. So really love the way that this looks on here. Super smooth in every way. Picture quality is phenomenal. Sound quality is phenomenal. Alright, so that was the entire race here. You can see everything's super smooth, and again, we can switch the layouts here to the different screens, or both screens if we want to go that route. So I'm going to jump out of this game, and we're going to jump into yet another game here on the Nintendo DS collection. Alright, so now we're off to Mario Kart DS. Again, with the touchscreen, we'll set this up. And same thing, same deal with the layouts here. We can switch to different views, however we want to lay it out. So we'll stick with the true layout here, which you'd have on a, legitimate Nintendo DS handheld. I'll zoom in now so we can use every bit of the screen. Alright, super smooth on here as well. Everything just runs perfectly. So again, we'll jump out of this game and let's get into a different collection now and test out how everything runs on something different. Alright, so we're going to jump into Crash Team Racing here. We're going to do a single race, one player. We'll do easy. We'll pick Crash and we'll go with Crash Cove, 3 laps. Alright, so final lap. Everything is running perfectly on here. Beautiful picture. Sound quality is amazing. Really just don't have anything bad to say about this setup. It's just awesome across the board. All right, so it doesn't get much better than that. Let's jump into another collection now. So let's go into another advanced collection like Dreamcast. I think that'll be a good one to test out. And what better game to get into than Marvel vs. Capcom 2, one of the most popular Dreamcast games of all time. So we'll just do quick arcade mode here. Let's pick a couple guys to be. Do Venom, Spider-Man, and we'll do Hulk.
Alright guys, so you can see from the overall tour that we did of the Raspad 3, as well as the gameplay demos where we fully tested a bunch of different retro video games here on the Raspad 3, that this is a phenomenal product. It's fully portable, which first off is an absolute home run because it's not only fully portable, it's 100% portable. There's so many devices out there that are advertised as portable, but it's not portable if you have to have a power source nearby to actually power the device. That's not the case here. You charge this bad boy up, holds a phenomenal charge on here, and you can actually just hit the button, check your charge, and you know whether you're fully charged or whether you need to plug this in, get a little bit more juice to it before you take it out with you for the day. So this has a phenomenal battery life to it, lasts a super long time, but the capabilities here are endless. You can use this as a regular computer, doing word processing, surfing the web, jumping onto YouTube. Capabilities there are unlimited, but we can also go ahead, swap out the micro SD card, put RetroPie on here or any other emulation platform and be able to do all of our retro gaming right from this device. We have the touchscreen capabilities, which works with Nintendo DS games, but we can set up Gamepad controllers on here. We can use Bluetooth Gamepad controllers. We can use wireless USB Gamepad controllers, or we can use wired USB Gamepad controllers. Again, the capabilities are fully unlimited here. You can do whatever you want with this device and everything works super well. The design on here is phenomenal. The fact that you can just sit this on a desk or pretty much any tabletop and it's angled in a way where you can see the screen perfectly. You can hold this in your hands like this. It's just super easy to hold on to. Really great layout here. And another thing that is phenomenal is the fact that we have external controls here. So we can adjust our brightness, we can adjust our volume, all of that externally. So it seems like that would be stock on most devices, but I'll tell you, it's not. Most devices, you actually have to go into the software to make these adjustments, which really sucks in a lot of ways because let's say that we're gaming, for example, and with emulation, we're jumping into a bunch of different collections, many of which can be decades apart. So if we're into an arcade game, for example, our volume level might be perfect, right where we want it to be, but we exit that game, we jump into a different collection. Let's say we were in arcades, everything was good. We jumped into PlayStation. Now PlayStation, the volume's a little bit off. We want to make an adjustment. With other devices, you need to leave that game, go into your settings, make the volume adjustment, jump back into that game and test it out. That's not the case here. If we find that our levels need to be adjusted, we just go over here to the side, adjust them up or down, and we're ready to go. We don't have to leave games. We don't have to, guesstimate what we need to do. We're able to just adjust it on the go and be right back into that game in no time at all. So love that capability on here. It's just super convenient, and it seems like that should be, standard on any device, but it's not. And it is here, so another reason that the Raspad 3 is absolutely phenomenal, and I highly recommend it. In addition to all of that, sound quality, resolution, picture, everything about this is absolutely a home run across the board here. So highly recommend this. I'm going to put a link in the description of this video so you can click that link, check this out, purchase it, whatever you want to do. Just click that link and you'll have access to all the information that you need on the Raspad 3. So that's going to do it for this video today. If you enjoyed this video, you found it helpful, smash the like button for us. That would be a huge help. And subscribe to the RetroPie Guy YouTube channel if you haven't done that yet. We do a ton of different videos based around retro gaming. We do product reviews like this one, tutorials, gameplay demos, and then we have the Forgotten Favorites YouTube series every Monday and Thursday evening. So tons of great content on here. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. So that's going to do it for today. Thanks for watching.